Hey, what's up everybody? This is Osterberg501 and today I want to go over one of my most anticipated games for 2021, and that game is Biomutant. Now, before we get into the video, only 6% of people that watch my videos are subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with all of my videos. Biomutant is described as an open-world post-apocalyptic kung fu fable RPG with a martial arts-inspired combat system, allowing you to mix melee, shooting, and mutant abilities with a massive crafting system that allows you to combine most items into the game and turn them into different weapons and armor, giving you millions of potential crafting options with a big branching story that changes based on your actions, with the ending being determined by those actions, all set in a big, unique open world. And one of the main reasons I'm so excited for Biomutant is how unique of a game it seems to be. From the open world being super vibrant with these super vibrant and bright color palettes, to the different biomes that make up the world itself, to the NPCs in the world, down to you playing as these different furry creatures and the different weapons you'll be using in combat. Pretty much everything about this game is completely unique, and you're not going to find any other game that is very similar to it. And with that uniqueness, I'm also excited by how grandiose they're making the feeling of the game, with these massive creatures that you're fighting that just tower over your small character, to the massive world tree that connects to most of the map, to all these different super unique biomes, down to the story itself being focused on you trying to save what is left of your world. So I want to do an overview of Biomutant because the game has a lot of depth, from its crafting system to how changing the attributes of your character will change the look of your character, to choosing classes, to the choice-based main campaign. The game has a lot of depth and follows a lot of deep RPG tenets. The creators of Biomutant did a really good job of explaining a lot of the core systems and aspects of the game, so I'm going to use those descriptions and then add some additional information on top of it. So first, we have the combat of Biomutant. The martial arts style combat system allows you maximum freedom of movement and agility while mixing shooting, melee, and powers from your mutations. Learning new Wung Fu combat forms through progression and learning from masters you'll meet will consistently add to your choices and make sure combat never gets old. So Biomutant is going for a very fast and fluid third-person combat system, and they have said it's inspired by games such as Devil May Cry and the Batman Arkham games. And from what we've seen, the combat allows you a lot of freedom to mix in the different styles of combat, so melee, range, and abilities, and gives you a lot of freedom of movement, and seems to have a heavy focus on crowd control and comboing all of your options together. And with the martial arts inspiration throughout their game, there's going to be a bunch of different masters that you can learn from that will teach you new combat styles to mix in with the rest of your combat. And when you first start out in Biomutant, you're actually going to choose a class that will dictate your starting gear, your weapon, and some of your statting. But throughout the choices you make through the game, what masters you learn from, how you mutate your character, you will be able to turn your combat into whatever you want it to be. And the different classes you can choose from give a good example of the different type of styles you could end up turning your character into. And the few we know about, we have the Psy Freak, which seems to be more of a mage archetype type of playstyle, where you're going to be using different abilities in combat that you can get from mutating your character, learning from masters, or getting through different prosthetics. And then we have the Commando, which is an aggressive fighter, which would be a more up close and personal kind of brawler type character. And then there is also the Mercenary, which is a pre-order bonus, which is a very fast-paced playstyle with dual-wielding katanas. And just to reiterate, the classes aren't going to pin you down into one playstyle or limit the stats or limit the options you have. It's kind of like a starter point that gives you your starting weapons, your gear, and puts you more into a different path. And you have many different options while in combat. You have melee weapons with things such as swords, hammers, katanas, katanas, range weapons with shotguns, rifles, and revolvers. You can even craft different tools, such as a robot hand that you ride around that has different abilities for you to use, and then psi mutations, which are essentially different abilities that you get from mutating your character in different ways. So next we have evolve your gameplay. You'll be able to recode your genetic structure to change the way you look and play. This will of course affect your attributes, and in addition to this, exposure to biocontamination in the world will lead to mutations like the turtle form and the mucus bubble, while exposure to radioactivity found in bunkers from the old world will affect your mind and unlock psi mutations like telekinesis, levitation, and more. And all of these things actually play a big part into not only the combat, but even in the missions and story of the game. And from the start of the game, statting your character in different ways will actually change the look of your character. So if you choose a much more strength-heavy character, it will make your character much bigger, much bulkier, but maybe you'll have less intelligence. And if you choose to go with a more agile character, that might make your character smaller, but with less health. And the biocontamination is a big way of how you're going to customize your character and change up how you go about making your character and creating your playstyle, because this gives you different mutations that will not only change the abilities you have or how you fight, but also change the look of your character. You can grow claws, you can get turtle form, you can use this mucus bubble that you can roll around in that attaches enemies to you and throws them around in combat, giving you a massive amount of customization just through these mutations. And the radioactivity will allow you to unlock psionic abilities like telekinesis, levitation, shields that block projectiles, and much more. This is more of like a mage type of playstyle that will have mana or energy that will allow you to use these abilities. And next we have crafting. You are totally free when crafting weapons. Mix and match parts to create your own unique one-hander or two-hander slash and crush weapons, revolvers, rifles, and shotguns, and add modifications like corkscrews and battery-powered chainsaw modules to biocontaminated sludge vials, adding to your combat arsenal. There are even characters you meet that'll craft cool stuff for you, like bionic wings, a jump pack, and even let you modify your automaton, your scrap toy sidekick. Crafting is going to be absolutely massive in Biomutant, not only for just customizing the way you play, customize the items you're using, but in the sheer amount of options you have. There are said to be millions of possible outcomes when using the crafting system, because most items you'll be able to just attach to weapons or put together to make different things. Like you could use a toothbrush as a crafting piece, you could put chainsaws on weapons, you could do pretty much anything you want. You can also craft the different gear in the game. So you can craft shoulders, helmets, you can craft specific gear that allows you to go into different zones. So gas masks for dead zones, thermal clothing for frozen areas, and more. And there are also a bunch of different resources for the crafting system, and these are ceramic, plastic, rubber, metal, wood, and meteor. And that's on top of being able to just put a bunch of different random items you find out in the world onto items to modify them or create new items themselves. And then you also have these different NPCs scattered throughout the world that can craft you different things, like the bionic wings, like jetpacks, and they can modify other items for you. They can modify your automatron, which is kind of this created sidekick for you. And an example is in some of the footage, they've shown your character walking around on a robotic hand that you can fight enemies with. You can shoot out of the hand and just customize it in any way you want. Next, surviving in a vibrant open world. You are free to explore the world and what lies beneath its surface by foot, by mech, by jet ski, air balloon, or even area unique mounts. Explore the dying wildland, the tunnels and bunker networks of the underworld, and find your way up the mountains or out in the archipelago. There are lots of discoveries to be made, mysteries to unravel, creatures to confront, and weird characters to meet in the vibrant and colorful world. And like I mentioned, this is one of the big reasons I'm excited for the game. The world itself is so unique, with massive amounts of variation in the different biomes and locations on the map, to all the different massive and unique creatures and all of these different different biomes, to the different vehicles you can use everywhere, to going underground in bunkers, to unlock new mutations, to meeting all the different NPCs and groups that inhabit this world. And last but not least, we have the story of Biomutant. Your actions play a major part in the unfolding of a story where end is coming to the new world. A plague is ruining the land and the tree of life is bleeding death from its roots. The tribes stand divided in need of someone strong enough to unite them or bring them all down. You're guided through the world by a storyteller that narrates every step of your journey, but it's your actions and choices that will decide how your story of survival ends. And like with all of the best open world story-based RPG games, your actions and choices matter and dictate not only how characters will react to you, how your story branches off and changes, down to how the overarching story of the world you're in will end up. And in this story and in this world, there are 6 tribes, which is going to be a main part of the story that you can either help bring together and get them to work together. You can choose to side with one tribe or a few tribes, or you can decide to side with none of them, and this will all dictate how the story ends. There's also a karma system in the game, which is shown by a yin and yang symbol, and this karma system will heavily affect the quest lines you go on, the dialogue options you have with characters, how characters interact with you, and your general stance in this world. And this whole thing will be narrated by a storyteller that narrates your entire journey throughout the game. And I don't want to go into too much detail about the story of the game because I know a lot of people don't like to be spoiled for this type of thing and would much rather learn about it when the game comes out. And that is just a simple overview of the systems and aspects of Biomutant. The game is incredibly deep and has a lot of complexity to it, and I will be doing more videos going more into detail with a lot of these systems. So that is all I want to go over for an overview of Biomutant. So subscribe if you want to see more Biomutant or other videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about Biomutant, and thanks for watching.